Welcome, friends, to another Wolff Responds. I call this one Milestone to Fascism. I don't use these words lightly, as I hope you have noticed, but I think something has just happened that we need to pay attention to in the context of being on the road to fascism and having just passed a very significant milestone. I am referring to the decision made this week to use approximately $9 billion worth of American taxpayers' money sent to Washington, D.C., and used by the Trump administration to buy roughly 10% of the company known as Intel, one of the major high-tech computer companies in the United States and therefore in the world. It was a company having economic difficulties. It had made some bad decisions. The value of its stocks had declined. It was widely known to be in trouble. The government putting that money into that company in that way is a way of helping the corporation, giving them, in effect, $9 billion of taxpayer money allows the board of directors of Intel, they're the ones who decide what to do with that money, a chance to use it to improve the situation and the fortunes of that huge capitalist corporation. And that will benefit, of course, themselves as board members, top executives whose jobs and huge salaries will thereby be maintained or maybe even increased, and likewise the shareholders who own the company. Why do I call this a milestone to fascism? Well, on one level, it's a simple definition. German fascism, Italian fascism, they were characterized by a merger that happened between the top levels of corporate capitalist enterprise on the one hand and the top officials of the Nazi Party government on the other. Once Hitler came to power in January of 1933, he proceeded quickly to bring these two together, to have government officials become members of boards of government, to use government boards of the corporations, to have government money help the corporations. And of course, in return, it was demanded that the corporations support the Nazi government in every conceivable way. That's why we call the merger of the top levels of government and corporate capitalism fascism. Please notice that the government comes together, takes over big business, not in order to help the condition of workers. That has nothing to do with it. It doesn't happen because it's not a point or purpose of this coming together. The coming together has an altogether different purpose: to support profitability, to support shareholders, to support corporate enterprise at the highest level. It's basically a government subsidy, but now it takes that new step. It isn't a tax cut. It isn't merely a grant or even a loan. It's we're becoming, we the government, owners. If the government owns 10%, it is probably the largest shareholder Intel has. Now, let me show you where this leads. And of course, I know because I know where it has led in the past. If the workers at Intel, and there are many thousands of them, were to decide that they don't want this or that policy of the Intel Corporation, and they have a strike, for example, which they are perfectly legally entitled to do, they will be striking, excuse me, against the government, which is a major, if not the major, owner of Intel. Will Mr. Trump, if he's the president at the time of such a strike, will he call in the military? The way he's calling the military in to Los Angeles or Washington or Chicago or New York, or at least threatening to do so? Will the striking workers confront the army? It has happened before in American history. Are we going down that road again? Let me give you yet another example. National security is often mentioned by Mr. Trump and his assistants as somehow justifying or requiring a move like this. Well, suppose working people object, as I'm sure they will. Maybe Mr. Trump will decide that national security requires changing the rules so that unions can't strike. Say, for example, when the government is part owner of an enterprise. Mr. Trump's government is working, as I speak to you, to take away the right to unionize and to strike for government employees. So we know what his position is likely to be. Will we soon have a new set of unions organized by the government and pushing the old independent unions that were created by workers out and bringing in the government-approved unions? That's what happened in Germany. That's what happened in Italy when they had fascism. And then there's the interesting recognition by members of the board of Intel, some of whom apparently did not know that this was going to happen. There's the question, if the United States government is the key owner of Intel, what is going to be the policy of countries around the world that might have thought of buying Intel products, high-tech computer-related products? They're going to be now worried, with much more reason than we had with the Chinese, that they're buying governmental products that might contain spying equipment, that might be reflective of the government's interest, not just dealing with a private enterprise called Intel. Countries that have a quarrel with the United States could now express their disinterest, their hostility, their opposition by not buying Intel products as a way of pushing back against the United States government. The United States did that with the Huawei Corporation from China, even though the government of China isn't a part and wasn't then of its board of directors the way Mr. Trump had. We are doing extraordinary things. We are taking enormous steps. I know people are focused on the Ukraine war or the Gaza horrors, or maybe even Mr. Trump's threat to cancel or undo the voters' decision in New York City about their next mayor. I know he's sending troops into American cities when there is no demand, no request, and no need, according to the mayors and chiefs of police of these cities, for any such thing. And now we see him taking over a major corporation, becoming its largest or one of its largest shareholders, and therefore the de facto power. What are we watching? We're watching a power grab across our society, the likes of which we've not seen ever. And the direction is very reminiscent of what fire came from fascism. We are taking steps whose consequences reach far beyond anything our leaders dare to acknowledge. And I urge you to think long and hard about where we are being taken. Because if this system crashes from all these extreme efforts to reorganize society around one individual, then that will be a crash that risks taking all of us down with it. If interventions like these strike you as a useful part of the national conversation, please share this video with others. That's why we make them. And of course, if you can help us defray the costs of producing and disseminating videos like this, that will be enormously appreciated, and it will have an important social effect. Thank you.